you guys? It's your girl Grace Torie, and I'm back with a whole new podcast episode. For today's episode, I thought that it would be a good idea to kind of give you guys a background on myself, who I am, where I came from, so that it helps you understand better like my opinions going forward. You know more about me, and you know we can relate on things and just have a good time. I don't know, I felt like this was a good vibe for today's episode. It's a Sunday, I'm chilling, so yeah, I don't know what direction this episode is going in because, you know, there's a lot of trauma there, so I don't know how much we're gonna unpack when I talk about like my life, but I guess we'll find out. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you see the cage in the background, it's because we got a new bunny. I'm so excited. His name is Bourbon, and we got him for Braxton so that Braxton could have a friend. So they currently are caged in their usual room so that it'll be easier for them to bond, because you're supposed to do it in a smaller space and then give them more space after. It also helps with like litter training to make sure he's all good to go there. So yeah, that's why that's there. But I feel like this is gonna be a really long episode. There's gonna be a lot to dive into, so let's go ahead and jump on into everything. I don't even know where to start. So my name is Grace. I was born on April 21st, 1999, so I am 23 years old. I was born in Fort Lauderdale. I lived there until kindergarten, and then I moved here in the first grade, and then I was pretty much homeschooled up until like the 7th grade. So I lived on a horse farm. We had a thoroughbred breeding farm, and I just pretty much played with horses and animals all day. My siblings were not a fan of the homeschooling life. I have a brother and a sister. I'm the middle child, so once Chase was old enough to go to school, he like went to school and Faith went to school, but it was mainly just me and my mom because my dad traveled for work. I saw him like 8 days a month. So yeah, it was honestly really nice. I'm a big nature person. My horoscope sign is a Taurus, so if that tells you anything, I would just sit outside for hours just looking at the clouds and making myself busy with like nature because I just loved it so much. I would just go out into the woods and find things to do. So that was my childhood. I went back to school off and on like 6th grade. Like I went 5th, homeschooled 6th, and then went back again 7th, but I went to a really small Christian school. There was only like 14 kids in the whole middle school or something crazy like that. And that low-key sucked. So I don't even know. That was like my first experience with like bullying. I got really depressed. I got an eating disorder, and it was just not a fun time. And I'm saying all of this because like I just want to be open and honest with you. Like I said, like when I have opinions going forward, I want you guys to know this is where I'm coming from. It's not from a place of like, oh, feel bad for me. Like, don't. It's fine. I've come to terms with it. All is well. It's more of a like, this is where I'm coming from. I hope I can help you in some way, and these are where my opinions stem from, so yeah. But I got really into One Direction because I just felt like really lonely. I had like one friend, and so we ran a One Direction account together. This is like really important information. I know it doesn't seem important, but this would like change the entire course of my life. So I ended up going to an actual school for like high school, and it was still pretty small. There were only like 30 kids in my class. I think only like 38 of us were in my graduating class. But I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was a very small Baptist Christian school, so are there some things I don't necessarily agree with? Yes, but I think it's exactly what I needed because I needed social skills. I never really got those from being homeschooled and then just not really having exposure to that many like people throughout my life. So I really loved it. I made a lot of really good friends, and I still had my One Direction account. It grew to like 20,000 followers. So I was actually holding meet and greets at One Direction concerts and at literally any concert I went to. So I like to say most people played sports, but I concert hopped. I did have a horse that I competed with, but I didn't do any traditional sports. I literally just concert hopped. Every Christmas I would ask for One Direction tickets. And I really enjoyed that part of my life. I was still struggling with depression and all the other things that I had going on, but looking back, I had it really good, you know? Like, that's one of those things that I hear people say a lot. Like, they wish that they could go back to their younger self and say, hey, calm down, toughen up, you're gonna miss this one day. And I think that was definitely true. I made a lot of friends, and I kept the One Direction thing a secret, so I kind of felt like Hannah Montana. Like, little 14-year-old me was like, oh my gosh, I have a double life, oh my god. And like, secretly, like, 2 people knew, but they like told me, and I was like, oh my god, no. But yeah, and then what else? High school was like I mentioned, it was great. I like had the time of my life. And then college hit. So in college, I ended up going to the University of Kentucky. My mom was actually diagnosed with breast cancer my senior year of high school. So I had, I think, 8 full rides to like all over the country, but I wanted to stay close to my mom. My parents ended up getting a divorce my senior year as well, so I just felt like I needed to be there for her. And I was also taking care of my brother a lot since my mom couldn't do it. My dad was still traveling. So I like felt a responsibility there. So I moved about an hour away for college, and I would still go home every weekend. I had like my high school boyfriend, which if I could give you any advice, it's do not, in my experience, don't have a high school boyfriend. It's just a bad idea. You are just like restraining yourself so much. There's so many things I wish I would have experienced, but I was going home every weekend on the phone with him every single night, and I just felt like it limited my college experience as well as my personal growth so much. And I just don't want that to happen to anybody else, and it happens all the time. I can do a whole episode on that and just college, and I can break it down. But anyway, back to the timeline. I went to UK. I majored in equine science and management. I rushed. I can do a whole episode on Greek life, and I'll probably ask my twiddle to do it with me because she had a very different experience than I did. People were not the nicest to me, but she was like really popular in our sorority, so yeah. Oh, if you hear that, my bun's eating and he's like throwing his food around. But my twiddle would literally become my best friend on the planet. We lived together for 3 years, and she was a 5th year because she's engineering, so that's pretty normal. I ended up graduating with an equine science and management degree and a community and leadership development degree, and then I decided to stay an extra year and get my master's in business administration because it was a 1-year program. So I ended up graduating at the same time because I was there 5 years for all of those and she was there 5 years for engineering. So we actually just graduated in May, and she moved to Alabama to pursue her career. She'd been interning for 3 years at the same company, really loved it, and I'm really happy for her, but I'm also really sad because we lived together for 3 years and that's like my bestie gal. So that's pretty much college summed up. I went through another depression period that was really hard. I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend my junior year, and I met my current boyfriend my senior year, and that was when life totally changed. When I broke up with my boyfriend from high school, it was really, really hard. Not because I broke up with him, but because of the situation. There were some things that went down that were not good. And so I kind of went on a bender, and I felt like, I just felt free. Like, I felt like I was finally free, and I'd been like locked up and I wasn't allowed to do anything. So I kind of went a little crazy. I became friends with a group of horse girls, and I loved them. They're like my favorite people. I still love them, but we'll get into that. And we ended up going to this one frat that they had been going to for a long time. A lot of my friends had boyfriends there, so it just kind of happened. And then I was not looking for a boyfriend because of the whole thing that went down with my past boyfriend, and I was 4 months into a bender of like partying and drinking, and it was 2020, so I don't recommend going on a bender during 2020. That's very unsafe, but I was going through some things. Not that that's an excuse, but I didn't know what I was doing. So I met my current boyfriend. So he had just been broke up with someone, and so he was like, I don't want a relationship, and I was like, yo, I don't want a relationship. But we were both like, you know, you're really cool, we should be like friends. And then we started dating within a week. I think it was just one of those things, like, I genuinely believe that we're soulmates, and like we'll talk about certain things and it's like we were in the same place at the same time like multiple times, but we never crossed paths or met each other. And I really think it was like a God thing or a universe thing, whatever you believe, because we weren't ready yet, and God was just waiting until we were ready, and then he was like, okay, go. So Josh and I have been together for a year and a half now, and he lived in the frat party house, so it was really convenient because we would just go to the parties and then we would go upstairs and go to bed, and it was a good ass time. And then when I went into the master's program, it was mainly because everyone else told me I should get a master's, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, so I couldn't really do anything with my degrees. I wanted to go to Australia and study the horses there, but COVID basically was like, no, you can't even go to like Nevada and study those horses right now, so like you better figure it out. By the way, is it Nevada or Nevada? Comment down below, because I genuinely don't know, and I need help. But those friends, the group of horse girls, I was like so close with them. We hung out every single day and I absolutely loved it. It was my favorite thing ever. But like one day they just decided that like none of them liked me anymore. I can get into that tea, but like everyone just never talked to me again. It was really weird and it hurt like really bad, like a lot. So I was really really hurt by that, and I kind of went into another little depression phase because I didn't really want to do my master's. I wanted to do it because I knew it would open up a lot of doors for me, but I didn't want to go through the process of doing it. And I had a lot of trauma I needed to heal. My mom, by the way, she's fine now. Like she's went into remission, but like that was a whole thing, and having to deal with the trauma of like growing up when you're like 16. And then also the trauma of that past relationship and some other things that happened that I don't really want to get into, like just a lot of things. My life has never been simple. It's always been very chaotic. So, just this all of that trauma piled on top of each other. And then I felt like when all those friendships ended, it kind of kicked in my abandonment issues, and then the floodgates opened and I had all of this trauma hit me at once, and it was not a good time. So then I was working through self-healing. I got really into like crystals, tarot, spirituality in general. This was right before I met Josh that I really got into that. So I just kept diving into that. Braxton, what are you doing? I just kept like diving into that and exploring that, and I think that's what got me through a lot. But I don't know, it was just rough. It was a rough time, you know. So then master's program, it was really hard. I think that it was only that hard because I was not okay, like mentally, physically, emotionally, I was not okay. And I think what made it even more frustrating was that I thought I was gonna go in and make all these friends and it was gonna be amazing, but like I didn't. Like I was very closed off because of all of the trauma I was working through, and it really bothered me that no one asked if I was okay, which is not their responsibility. It's not anyone's responsibility for your mental health, and if someone tries to make it you feel like it's your responsibility, and it's not. But I was just in such a spiral, I didn't think about that. And I also thought like it was obvious that something was wrong. So I was like really torn up about that, which looking back, that was wrong and I shouldn't have done that. So I kind of just really kept to myself. And I did not do well in the master's. Like I did not do well. My grades were not very good. I graduated by like the skin of my teeth. And that's really like where we're at now in terms of schooling. I really took time to like focus on myself. Josh and I knew we wanted to live in a house together, and we wanted to stay in Lexington, but we didn't know like where the house would be, what we could afford, anything like that, because Josh dropped out of school, so he's a car salesman now. So he was like the main source of income until I got a job, which I have a job now. So in April, we found a house that we love. It's in a neighborhood. It has a backyard for our dogs. and it's 15 minutes closer to my horse because I still have her. She came to college with me. So then we decided to move in and we're here. So that's the background in terms of like my history and like what I've been up to. But I think it's time to talk about like who I am now. Like that's who made me who I am, but now it's time to talk about who I am. So I'm still really, really connected with nature. It's a huge part of who I am. I really love it. I'm just trying to really get into that self-improvement, but I've found that podcasts help a lot. But when I listen to podcasts and they talk about how they've been doing content creation for most of their life, or you know, they have the flexibility to go to the gym whenever they want and they don't really work a 9 to 5, like that's not helpful for me because I do those things. Like I have a 9 to 5, I don't have as much time. So that's where this podcast came in, because I am trying to find my purpose and find my calling and what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, because I haven't given myself the privilege of figuring that out because I've been trying to help everybody else for so long. Okay, hi guys, we took a brief intermission because my camera died, but I don't know, I was thinking about it and I was just like, dang, I don't know what to say about who I am. Like it's easy to talk about where I've been and like how that shaped me, but it's hard to talk about who I am now. And part of me was thinking, isn't that the point of this whole podcast, is to continue to grow and find that person? So I'm gonna try my best to kind of just talk about myself, but I don't know who I am, and that's, you know, that's what I'm working so hard on. But as I mentioned earlier, I love being outside. I have a horse that I love to go ride. I have 2 bunnies and 2 dogs, so I love hanging out with them. I also love spirituality. I feel like a lot of people think that you can't be a Christian and also practice law of attraction, or you can't be a Christian and practice horoscopes and manifestation or anything along those lines, but I personally don't believe that's the case, and I can do a whole episode on what I believe in that aspect. But I'm really into that and crystals and all of the fun stuff that goes with that. I love hanging out with my boyfriend and just building our future. A lot of my life has really just been working, and I think that something I'm really working on lately is not working towards a goal, but just living, because like your whole life, school-wise, you have an objective that you're working on, whether that's a homework assignment or after this test or after I get this grade, after the semester. And once you graduate, no one really tells you it, but there are no benchmarks. You have to make your own. So I've been really struggling with what is my next step that I'm working towards, because I get to make the rules. Like I don't have someone to tell me this is when XYZ has to be done by and it's measured in grades. Like there is no measure of success now, if that makes sense. Like you don't get an A for being good at life. So that's what I've really been focusing on, and that's why I'm so excited for this podcast, because I get to figure those things out with you, and I can hear your input, and you guys can ask me questions and I can give you my input. And that's why I want this to be a community. I don't want it to be one-sided where I'm just like talking to you guys and telling you things. I would love to hear from you as well, and your experiences, your questions, and just make this a safe place for all women who are trying to figure out what their purpose is and what they're doing. So I'm really excited. Other than that, I don't know what my interests are. I'm really creative. I love photography, videography, writing, love music, as I mentioned, with One Direction and Taylor Swift, and I know those are more of the basic ones, quote unquote, but I have a lot. I don't think I could pick like a favorite genre or a favorite artist. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited for this podcast. I was hoping that this episode would be a little bit longer, but it's okay, because I'm learning that like I mentioned, I set the rules. Like if my podcast episodes are not an hour long, that's okay. Like I set the rules, you know? So this is just another example of that. So I'm really excited. I hope you guys have a safe Independence Day weekend if you are in the United States. I am going to get this up today. I'm gonna edit it as soon as I hop off. But yeah, if there's any topics you want me to talk about specifically, feel free to let me know on TikTok or Instagram. please, please, please give this a rating, screenshot it and send it to me, and I will shout you out in the next podcast. I would love it if you would follow, like, subscribe, all of the fun things, because I absolutely adore you and I value you, and I want you to come along on this journey with me and make it our podcast rather than just my podcast. So let me know topics, let me know all of your thoughts, things you don't agree with. Let's talk about it, and I hope that you have a great rest of your day. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, have a great Sunday. I hope that your weekend was awesome and that you go into the work week refreshed. If you're in the United States, have a safe Monday. I hope you see lots of fireworks, and yeah, I think that's everything. But okay, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye.